next? Who would it be and why?
I probably identify with Polka Dot Man because he is completely an outsider who's a mess, who doesn't know what's going on. And but I wish that I could be. I guess I wish I could be Ratcatcher too, because I think she's the only character that has any sense of herself and any grounding in sort of a human sort of way. So I really like Ratcatcher too, if there's one I want it to be.
Okay, that's it for me. Let's head on over to Aisha to end the show. Bye.
So this is the last one, right?
Thank you so much, Sam. That was killer.
I think so.
Guys, there is no place that
She's awesome, by the way. Aisha Tyler. That's great they got her.
In
She's
this
fucking cool.
place where we all get to come together to celebrate us, the fans, and all things DC. And I've got to pinch myself right now to make sure I'm not dreaming, because we have the man who is starring in the next feature film incarnation of one of DC's most popular characters of all time.
Yes.
We're talking more than 80 years here, guys. So ready your bodies, because here is the Batman. Robert Pattinson.
Woo! Our boy. Okay. Oh, yes. That music.
Is he really going to be here?
As many of you probably already know, we were in the beginning stages of production when COVID hit, so now I'm very anxious to get back to work and continue to form this beloved character. I've always been a massive fan.
Boy.
I'm not really allowed to share anything, so I'm going to hand over to the great Matt Reeves, who's somewhere around here, and he can determine what can and can't be talked about. But I do know that if you stick around till the end, there's a cool surprise. So.
And this is so Robert Pattinson. This is so Pattinson. That was great. That was exactly what I was hoping for.
Brief and to the point. Oh,
I'm so
I've seen a lot of people posting Robert Pattinson
Thank
pictures.
you, it's great to be here. So, as Robert said, it's super early to tell us much about the movie. But I think what's exciting about where we are with DC and with this franchise specifically is that there's been a multiverse of Batman, right? And now you're taking over this particular iteration of Batman. What made you want to tell a Batman story? I mean, this is a heavy lift. What was it that drew you to this character in this world?
Look, I love Batman, and I've loved Batman since I was a kid. And I never even imagined, when I began making movies, that I would do genre movies, because I just loved certain kinds of movies that were very character-based. And it's really interesting that as I got deeper into genre, I realized that was a way to do very emotional stories, but under the guise of these sort of great mythic
looks like
tales.
A guy
and in particular, what excited me,
guy
the thing I related
that I go to like,
in the Batman story
to get
was that he isn't a superhero in the traditional sense. He might have a cape, but he can't fly.
Sort of
he's
like
you and me, but if he has a superpower, it's the ability to endure. And not only the ability, but the kind of compulsion. And so that idea of being that driven by your past and by the things that you can't quite resolve in yourself, he's a very alive character. And to me, to tell a version of Batman where, again, it wasn't about how he became Batman, but it's about the early days of how he is Batman, and he is so far from being perfect, and watch us sort of see him becoming what we all know about him and see it in new ways. I felt like that was a way to do something that hadn't been done, and that was really what I was excited to be able to do in this iteration.
You have said that all of us imagine ourselves, or have imagined ourselves to be Batman. And I know that's why I love those stories from the time I was a kid, because he didn't come from another planet, right? He doesn't have magical powers. He's just a guy that wants to do good.
Robert
and that's the thing. The other question is, what is good? One of the things that I think is interesting is learning how to be Batman.
I love it.
The whole idea, this is all an experiment in the movie. The idea is that we're in year 2. It's the Gotham experiment. It's a criminological experiment. He's trying to figure out
I mean, he looks a lot different
what he can
than
do
he did
that can finally
5-10
change
years
this
ago.
place. And in our story, as he's in that mode, that's where you meet him, and you see that he is charting what he's doing, and he's seeing that he's not having any of the effect that he wants to have yet. And that is when the murders start to happen, and then the murders begin to describe sort of the history of Gotham in a way that only
Listen to how
reinforces what he knows
intellectually
about
he
Gotham,
talks about
but
Batman.
it opens up a whole new world of corruption that went much farther.
Dude,
But
this
as
is
that
your
story
guy,
starts
man.
to come
This
out,
is your
without
guy.
being an
This
origin
is
tale
your
for
guy.
him, it ends up being something that touches on his origins. So you start to see that as it starts to describe this epic history of corruption in Gotham, that you start to understand, well, where did my family sit in that? And that
I love
sense,
Chris Nolan.
I think
This
all
guy
of that
understands Batman the best.
is a way to take a story that is a detective story, a very point of view story, a mystery.
Look at Aisha
it's got,
Tyler.
of course,
She's like,
action, all
yep,
that kind of stuff. But at the end of it, it also is incredibly personal for him, even though it is the story in which he's trying to understand and unravel this mystery.
It's so layered. I'm really excited about it.
She's a
Speaking
legit
of what we
super
know about Gotham, you've revealed some of the characters in this story, and the casting
Dude, look
is
at the
just
camera,
extraordinary.
man. Can you
They're amazing. I mean, you know, we have Paul Dano plays a version of the Riddler that no one has ever seen before, and it's really exciting. He's such an incredibly creative actor, and so what he is doing, I think, is going to blow people's minds. And then to have, you know, Zoe Kravitz, her iteration of Selena Kyle, to me, that's incredibly exciting. You have an iteration that you've never seen of what she's doing, but it touches on all these kind of iconic sort of things that people know from the comics. So it's always about trying to square what you sort of know with what also is new, and
like,
that is really
if
part
Ed
of,
Norton
I think,
turned
the
out better,
sort of
and was
process
older,
of
he'd be
making
this
a Batman
guy.
movie, which is to find a way to make it your own and to find a way for the actors to make it their own, and yet still connect to all these things that people also go, oh, that's my Selena. I know who that is.
Oh,
and
he's talking about your
I guess
favorite.
The one thing about
can you really not
the
turn
Rogues
yourself to the
Gallery
screen?
is that it actually, in a weird way, is the origins of a lot of our Rogues Gallery characters. So, like, Selena isn't Catwoman yet. That's actually part of the journey. Oz is not yet the Kingpin that he's going to become. He's the Penguin. In fact, doesn't like being called the Penguin. And the Riddler is just emerging for the first time. So that's all incredibly exciting. And then we have, like,
do I have to go this way?
Not the zoom camera.
Who is, you know, I work with on the Apes movies, is one of the most beautiful
You're
actors.
looking to the right and down from the
Alfred
camera.
that I feel like people have never seen before, which is really exciting to share with people. And then we have an incredible.
Turn your head
for me,
90
like, I
degrees
just
to
think
the left.
that Jeffrey Wright is just one of the great actors, and to be able to work with him in a totally new iteration of
I don't
Gordon.
know. Maybe
and then we have the amazing John Turturro, who's going to be a Carmine Falcone, who, again, I think in this iteration you've never seen that version before. And how all these characters connect, I think, for me, was one of the challenges but also exciting things about the creation of the story, which is that in going on this sort of desire to solve, or the urge and the compulsion to solve this series of crimes, you all of these iterations of the beginnings of these characters, so that the whole movie is like, it's like a snowball rolling. You can just feel the momentum building and building, and that's the attempt.
It's exciting to be able to talk to you in the middle of making this, you know, this incredibly rich undertaking. And you're an incredibly busy man, not just this film. It's just announced that you're going to be working on the Gotham PD series.
That's the Gotham
with writer Terrence Winter. How are these two projects going to dovetail? How are the series and the film's worlds going to overlap or connect?
Yeah, totally. I mean, for me, the idea of this story was a story in which
Gotham,
which has this sort of depth of corruption, and then the idea that we could actually do a series that is going deeper into an aspect of it, which in this case is the corrupt police department, the corrupt
I finally figured it out.
The way we're going to do the series, which is, I mean, I'm incredible. I mean, Terrence Winter is
people
just
are going
like
crazy for
Pattinson
writer. On
so the idea that we got him to do this, I mean, just is literally a dream.
Here.
Of course.
And the idea is we go back to
Men
year
like
one,
him, man.
and
No one
year
holds
one is
Twilight
the
against
beginning
him, honestly.
of the emergence. It's the first appearance of this masked vigilante that starts to unsettle the city.
He's a sensitive guy, but he's still a manly man.
You start to see the story through the point of view of these corrupt cops, and one in particular.
You have
and the
to be a
story
little
is actually
sensitive for
a battle for
Bruce
his
Wayne,
soul.
like Christian
and
Bale,
he's
I
a cop
think.
over generations, and the history of corruption in Gotham is enormous and goes back many years.
Playboys are
and
not
the story
generally
is
jocks,
like, as you
for
realize that there's this
example.
myth building in the background, you're actually in a new place where you've never seen these characters before, some of which we'll touch on that you may have seen from the comics, but others totally new. Then you can go down an avenue and go into detail that you couldn't do in a movie, and to go into these sort of rich places and meet entirely new characters that Terrence is going to create. I'm incredibly excited about it.
That's awesome. I mean, like I said, it just dimensionalizes that multiverse that much more and adds that much more depth to it. Now, as you know, Matt, here in the DC Fandome, it's not just a celebration of all the superheroes and the villains that we love, but most importantly, it's a celebration of the fans. So we have some questions for you straight from the fanverse.
Let's see what they're going to ask.
Okay, cool. Here we go. All right, this question comes from Arvin in the UAE.
Oh wait, I can actually do this
he asks, when it comes to costume design and the collaboration processes behind it, to what extent were stars able to implement their own influence within the design?
That's a good question. You know, actually quite a bit. I mean, we have, of course, an incredible costume designer, Jacqueline Duran, and the bat suit was designed by Glenn Dillon, and they're geniuses.
Matt Reeves.
It's great to work with them, but one of the things that's really important is being able to work with the actors. Like Rob had a very important part in designing the suit, in that he had to be able to wear it.
He also knows how to talk
and one of the things
to the
about
public,
this bat
which is
suit
important.
is that it is,
because he's got a lot of
it's very
strange
practical.
folks in
the whole
movie.
idea is that he's made it himself, and so we needed to be able to sort of see how it would fit on him in these ways that he could move, but also looked like it was something that was still evolving.
Ritter's fault.
And
I
even
didn't
the idea of the
realize what was
story, he's
going
in
on.
year 2, so he's been
It was
wearing
a still
it. So
image of you
he
going
goes
like
every
this.
night looking for trouble. So you look at his cowl and you can actually see there are
I was
gashes
probably
in it.
grabbing a
and all
drink
of
or
that
something.
detail
But
was
then
an
it
incredibly
froze
exciting
because
sort of
Zoom is
dialogue
acting
between
weird. We'll
me
keep
and the costume
experimenting.
designers, and then having Rob involved. And so,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
the
noticing
actors have a lot
there's a
to
little
do
bit
because
of
you always
cruising
do
on my end,
a
but
dialogue with everyone
really
so that
do
we
too
can
much
arrive
about
at the thing that
this.
feels
Anymore.
the most grounded, the most honest, and the most character-based.
I'm just hoping everybody got pockets.
You know what? I will tell you this. One of the big things that Rob actually talked to Christian Bale, and Christian Bale was like, just make sure you're going to be able to relieve yourself. So all of that sort of was actually part of what was important to build into. It's like, okay, he needs to be able to put it on. He also needs to be able to live as a human being.
Okay, here's a video question from Pedro in Brazil.
Hi, I'm Pedro from Brazil, and I believe that one of the most important things about the whole Batman mythology is not just the characters such as Batman or the Joker, it's Gotham City itself. So I wanted to ask you, what should we fans expect to see from Gotham City in this film? Thank you.
You're absolutely right. Like,
You know
it's
what I
just
should
as
have been doing
important
this
as
whole
any of the
time?
Rogues Gallery. It's sort of like the nature of what this place is and the history of
tell
it
you in a
is
sec.
critically important to our story. And one of the things that I really wanted to do, because it is the center of this story, especially the history of corruption in the city, was I wanted to present it in a way that was really fleshed out. I wanted it to feel like an American city you'd never been to. I mean, other iterations have, you know, obviously the Burton one had very, very theatrical, beautiful, beautiful sets. And Nolan had the version that he created in Batman Begins, and that was a particular thing. And then parts of Chicago and parts of Pittsburgh. And what we're trying to do is create a version of it that you haven't seen before. So some of the locations that we've chosen, the idea is to take, let's say there's like we have like a Gotham Square. So that's like Times Square, right? Now, if we shot it in Times Square, then you'd be like, oh, I guess Gotham is New York. But in our case, it's actually going to be Liverpool. And the idea is to go to Liverpool where there's all the sort of the foundation of the Gothic architecture, and then add all of the more modern structures through CG, but in a way that you're going to, when you see the movie, now that I've blown it, of course I've told you what it is, but you'll be like, hey, where's that city? Where did they shoot? And so the aspect of Gotham and realizing it has been, for me, one of the great pleasures in getting to mount the movie.
That's amazing. Evla from Germany says, it's already known that the movie is going to explore Bruce's second year as Batman. How do the citizens of Gotham perceive the vigilante?
Oh, that's a good question. Because it's still early and because he is a vigilante, which means he takes the law into his own hands. I mean, if you were in a city and there was a guy who dressed up as a bat and showed up out of the shadows and sometimes confronted those people and beat them up because he felt what they were doing was wrong, so that he could sort of put the fear of God in them about the
logo
crimes that
there,
they're
bottom
committing.
left.
I think we would wonder, well, gee, that guy sounds a little dangerous. He's not yet the vision of the character that he becomes, where he becomes a symbol of hope for the city.
Is the Bizzlecast logo invasive
and
there
so
in the bottom left?
They're afraid of him, frankly. He's kind of a growing legend. I think there are some people who are wondering, does he exist? How exactly does he exist? And that legend is building day by day and has been since he made his first appearance about 1.5 years ago, as we were in year 2. So yeah, the public is afraid of him. I mean, that's one of the things I think that he will confront in the course of the story, and that Rob has to sort of deal with in playing the character, which is the idea of how he's perceived.
And speaking of Rob, Aditya in Indonesia has a video question.
What was the best part of Robert Pattinson that he was chosen as the new Batman?
I mean, the thing about Robert Pattinson is he's an incredible actor. I feel like the work that he's done in the last I don't know, 6 years has been incredible. Like a friend of mine
it doesn't look
made a movie
that
called
bad.
Lost City of Z, and Rob appeared in that movie,
I have
and I was
better
like, who
ones,
is
I just
that guy?
can't
He had just
access it
such
right
charisma, and Rob in the movie has this incredible beard, and you're like, who is that? And it's Rob, and Rob in The Rover, and Rob in Good Time. He is like a chameleon, and he's just such a gifted actor, and he's been working on his craft in this really incredible way, and he also happens to be a tremendous, passionate sort of fan of Batman the way that I am, and so it was an incredible thing to be able to connect with him and to share our excitement about the character and to work with him. I mean, you know, he looks like Batman, but more than anything, he has the soul of someone, I think, that can play a Batman like you've never seen before.
Andy from Australia asks, how long did it take to build the Batsuit, Batmobile, and Batbike? And did you have to build a set to create the Batcave?
You know, it's funny. It's like stepping into your childhood in a certain way, because, you know, obviously the first thing you have to do is you have to craft a story that you think is worthy of the character. But then once you've done that and it becomes like, oh yeah, we're making this movie, one of the things you have to do is you have to design a Batsuit. You have to design a Batmobile. You have to have a Batcave. You have to have Batbikes. All of the things that he's going to have.
That's
and so, you know, for me, that's been one of the exciting things, and that happened even before we were quite done with the last iteration of the script. You know, we'd already gone through passes, and it was quite clear what the vision of the world was being. While I'm writing, I actually already have a production designer on, and so he would be sending, as I'm writing scenes, I might send stuff to James, and he's like, oh, well, what about this for a Batcave? And so, yes, we had to build a set for it. But I think it's an incredibly original and different set. I think it's going to be really fun for the audience to discover
and somebody
what
just
version of
posted the picture
exactly this
Daniel.
Batcave is going to be. The Batmobile and the Batsuit, they took a long time. You know, I mean, Glenn came on quite early, and we worked in the designing of it again as I was writing, and the idea of him being able to fight in it. And so they started illustrating, and I'd say we spent easily a year to do the Batsuit and then to get into the Batmobile, and that, of course, that part's a dream. I mean, you know, you start,
Dude,
the idea of
guy
getting to do your own version of the Batmobile is like, you're just kind of like, what? That's the incredible candy, right? Like the telling of a story is the hard work and trying to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And then when you get to dive into the idea of this car that, again, feels connected to this version of the character, a grounded version of the character, this is something that he built, and to try and look at those kind of rough seams and imagine how all that works, it's been an incredible sort of gift to be able to do that.
So much fun. Alejo from Argentina asks, what will be the main difference between this Batman and the other incarnations from previous films?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I think, you know, as we said, it's not an origin tale, and you're meeting him in the early days. And for me, what's really important about this iteration is that all of the other stories are very much about how he had to master
those are the 3 words I was waiting
for himself in order to become Batman, and that in that Batman state, he's sort of in his best self. And I think for me, what was exciting was not doing that, not doing the origin, not doing what we'd seen done so beautifully in other movies, but instead to meet him in the middle of this chronological experiment, to see him in the becoming of Batman, and to see him make mistakes as Batman, and
again,
see
as we talked
him grow
about,
and fail,
as long as we don't see the parents getting killed in this film, I'll be
but in a
happy.
way that felt very human and very flawed.
Because we don't need
the
to
biggest
see
fantasy,
him
of
like
course, as a kid would have been to be
6,000
Batman, and
times
so
again.
the idea of putting the audience in the shoes of that character and make the audience feel the way that he feels, I think that, to me, I hope is what's different about what we're doing, is to try and do it in exactly that sort of manner. And then, of course, the other things that are from the earlier history of the comics, like him being the world's greatest detective and how he got there. You know, those things have been touched on, but I don't know that they've been as central to the plot as they are in this particular Batman. So there's a lot of things I hope that will be totally different.
You know what? I can
Cliff from Australia asks, what's one deep cut comic fans might be surprised to see has inspired the Batman?
You know, for me, because I wanted to get into the mindset of the character and I wanted to think of the psychology, for me, I think one of the cool deep dive ones was Darwin Cook's ego. He's confronting the beast that is Batman, and it's kind of duality. I mean, there's a lot in what, you know, I was trying to do in the story about him confronting the shadow side of himself. The degree to which you have self-knowledge, you're able to understand your motivations, but he's broken Batman. So while he's doing all of these things for the reasons that he thinks is right and that have a heroic sort of grounding in them, there's also many things that are driven by the parts of himself he doesn't yet know.
I have chills right now, man.
And so I would say that that kind of sort of psychological, shadow side,
this guy is impressing
that sort of
me
version
beyond
is very
what I
much connected
expected.
to that vision from Darwin Cook.
I'm just absorbing everything.
Yosef from Bolivia says, which non-Batman movie were Matt Reeves?
Tyler is happy to have questions right now because she is blown away by how intellectually this guy has thought about Batman.
A detective story, because it is a thriller in the sort of cop world, and because it's about corruption, we're treating this Batman story as if this could have happened. I mean, the idea is that, as I said, Batman doesn't have this sort of the ability to have sort of super heroic powers. He just has super heroic focus and super heroic drive. And so, for me, a lot of movies like Chinatown was a key one, because Chinatown, Jake Gittes, in investigating that sort of the series of crimes that were part of that story, he discovers the depth of corruption in Los Angeles. And so in that way, it's like a classic noir. And that's very much this series of murders
Zack Snyder
that
can't hold a candle to this guy. This guy's running circles around Zack Snyder's brain.
So Chinatown was a really big one. And that idea of that kind of gritty, flawed, this humanity of it, that was very much inspired by those kinds of movies, by like French Connection and other sort of cop movies like that. I would say even a movie like Taxi Driver, the description of a place and very much getting inside of somebody's head. And I guess a lot of really sort of 70s street grounded stories.
So, Matt, one of the exciting things about the Batman as a character is that he's so layered and so kind of intense that you can dip into his life at different points, and none of these different characters, these different iterations of the Batman or Gotham or the entire kind of Batman universe as it was, will tread on the ground that others have already covered.
Oh, totally. I mean, for me, that's exciting. Like the idea of the history of Batman, like just the idea of the actors who have played Batman, like Adam West, when I was a kid, like Adam West, that was like, when I was 5 and watching him as Batman, like that blew my mind. I wanted to be Batman so badly. And then I remember when I was a little bit older and then Keaton came onto the scene with the Burton movie, I was so excited they were going to do a theatrical version of that. And then the iterations that have followed, like so many incredible people. I mean, Bale was amazing. I mean, incredible. Everything that Chris Nolan was astonishing.
Oh, yeah.
And I personally love Ben Affleck as Batman. Amazing. I thought he was incredible. Like an iteration again that we hadn't seen. So like, in fact, I'm really excited because I know that they've got, Zach is going to be doing the new Justice League cut of his that he didn't get to do originally, and now he's getting to do it, and I can't wait to see that. So for me, the idea that there are sort of, first of all, to be a part of history like that is an incredible thing, and I do think that that's one of the things. It's kind of like the comics, when you look at the comics, there are so many iterations of Batmans. There are so many different people's Batmans. There's Neil Adams' Batman. There's, of course, there's Bob Kane and Bill Finger's Batman, and there's Frank Miller's Batman. There's so many Batmans, and so to me, that's one of the joys of being in the kind of comic book world, is to try and say, hey, what can we do to put our spin on this so that people can find a new way of looking at that character that they love?
I remember when the Dark Knight graphic novels came out when I was a kid, what a radical departure that felt like, how exciting that was.
Oh my God.
But it didn't erase all the ways that I had connected with that character previously. It just made the world richer and, more exciting. So.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's this strange thing of wanting to be able to find a way to come at it in some new way, and yet it has to be connected to that thing that you love.
Their heart is racing right now after hearing what
being
Reeves
part of that
is saying.
history and being part of all of that.
Dude, this guy is
sort
the
of
perfect guy.
Almost
I don't know who's better.
You have to pinch yourself.
So, Matt, before we wrap up, I think that what the fans really want is to get just even a tiny glimpse of what the film is going to look like. And,
he's going to give
this is a fan experience. I'm hoping you brought us something we can show them.
It's Fandome. And, having been to Comic-Con and all of that, I know you don't come without anything. And, look, we've only shot 25% of the movie, 25-30% of the movie, so there's so much. This is just scratching the surface, but there was no way that I could come here and not bring a look at the movie. So, yeah, I'm incredibly excited to share what is just the first tease of our movie, and I hope you guys like it.
Here we go. Oh, wow. Whoa. Oh. Has to be a Riddler.
From your secret friend. Who?
Nirvana?
Jim Gordon? Looking good as Jim Gordon there.
Haven't a clue. Let's play a game. Just me and you. Any of this mean anything to you?
Oh, he looks so good in that bat suit. Oh, that's got to be the Riddler there. No, that's Bruce. Oh wow.
Why's he writing to you?
If you are justice, please do not lie. What is the price for your blind?
Oh, is that her in the Catwoman suit?
The hell are you supposed to be?
That looks like. Is that supposed to be like a Joker gang?
Better fight than anything in the Dark Knight trilogy, right there.
I'm vengeance.
Oh yeah.
Vengeance. He's like Daredevil. I dig it.
I am the Knight. I am Batman.
This guy's crazy.
That's one of the things. Oh my god.
Nirvana, man. That's awesome. They're hiding Dano, which is smart.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Oh wait, here it is.
How am I part of it? You'll see.
Oh, is it
There it is. There it is.
20?
You have to hide Dano.
I'm so excited for this film. It's amazing that you only shot, a
Oh,
quarter of it, and it's already feels so
Jimbo
robust
Ritter
and intricate, and I can't
has an
wait to see the finished
erection
product.
the
Thank you so much for being
size of
here
Gotham City right
with me
now.
and with all the fans around the world
The
who are so
quote,
excited
the
for
quote
this
Alan
film. I know I
Tudyk from
speak for
Harley
them
Quinn.
when I
I
say
am
that we
spent.
are all super pumped for the Batman.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. It's a pleasure
So
and
the
an honor
people
to be
who
here.
posted
And
the orgasm
I'm really
scene
excited that we're going to get
for
back to
Justice
making this
League,
movie so that you guys
we're gonna
can
post
see it.
that for this.
Guys, a huge thank you to the fans around the world for your dedication to DC.
Oh, it's
and
over now.
honestly, for being the inspiration behind the whole DC fandom itself. We literally would not be here if it wasn't for you. You're awesome. And
So
for those of you who are just joining us
then,
now,
right?
stay tuned for the Wonder Woman panel as our DC Fandom's show starts from the top in just a minute. That is right. The same amazing programming in this incredible Hall of Heroes coming your way. So if you took a bathroom break and missed even a minute, do not move because the show is going to go on.
It'll
again.
be on.
This is your opportunity to get
find it on the
exclusive
internet?
insider information and special
Well,
looks at your favorite characters
I can look
and
on YouTube.
comics. Plus, don't miss the amazing
That
art
has to-
submissions
it has
and
to
cosplay
be on,
costumes sent in
YouTube,
by
man.
you, the fans. On behalf of all of our global hosts from around the world,
My God,
I'm Aisha
that
Tyler,
is-
here with my co-host.
Aisha Tyler, you did a great job, and everything that sucked was not your fault. But of course we knew
See
that.
here. Okay, there's. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I
It's
got it.
on.
I got it. I got it. I
it's
got
on
it. I
Wonder
got
Woman
it. I got it.
Future.
I got it. I got it. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold
That
on.
was.
Hold on. I got it.
Oh,
I
I
got it.
couldn't. I
One
couldn't.
sec. 1 sec. Here we go.
Oh, I couldn't contain myself during that.
Let me clear off the screen here a little bit.
That was. Yeah, well, I was. Oh, yeah.
From your secret friend. Who?
Nirvana is so perfect.
No more lies.
Haven't a clue.
We got Jim Gordon.
Let's play a game. Just
How
me
good
and
does
you.
Jeffrey Wright look as Jim Gordon in this?
Any of this mean anything?
I had to convince my dad on it a little bit, but he'll come around.
He looks so good.
you're becoming quite a celebrity.
I mean, he looks amazing in that bat.
To you?
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is,
If you are justice,
this is the first movie I want, not another Batman Begins.
Yeah,
what is
it looks.
the price for your blind?
Yeah, they're both using handmade uniforms in the first one.
How are you supposed to be?
Yeah.
I mean, this is Daredevil shit right here, man. This is fucking Daredevil shit. Oh my god.
It looks good.
Robert Pattinson is a beast!
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You're not gonna get to see me actually when we were watching that first trailer, but
and they're teasing the Joker without the Joker.
Yeah, it's a Joker gang.
You're part of this too.
Is that Dano's voice right there?
Am I part of it?
I think so.
You'll see.
Yeah, that's Dano.
Yeah, that.
They can't go straight Riddler, and you have to disguise Dano's voice a little bit because you know what I mean? Like funny psychotic doesn't fit with what's going on here. You need actual dark, crazy psychotic.
Yeah, you need like you need someone, Yeah, you just need to make it like a serious villain, and I mean, if you're going to do Detective Batman, you need the Riddler, and it seems like this is a Riddler that's going to be a really good live action movie Riddler than the one we got a few years ago.
All right, dude. So this is the part where we do final thoughts and then turn it into an audio quickie. So this will be mostly talking.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
That's cool.
Okay. Why don't we work backwards? Because Batman is the most important thing in terms of the movie. Batman is the most important thing in terms of the video game. And while I knew I would love Wonder Woman and I was excited to see crazy Ezra Miller, honestly, the thing I didn't know about that shocked me with how good it was the video game. And the thing I thought it would be great but was even better was the combination of the trailer, but Jimbo Ritter, and let's just do a quick sort of informal introduction here if we're sort of leading into the Quickie podcast. We had a great day watching DC stuff, mostly, even the stuff we didn't like, which is Matt Reeves is an intellectual on the level of, like, the way that Joss Whedon talks about, like, vampires and werewolves is like how Matt Reeves talks about everything in Batman in Gotham City, but even further, like, he could write a dissertation on it. Did you see how he was speaking directly? Guys, I can't, you must see the trailer, but you must also see the Matt Reeves interview. He was speaking directly into the camera, like, as if he had rehearsed it, but he didn't need to because he spent so much time thinking about it.
Yeah, he knows Batman top to bottom. Like, he was pulling some deep cuts even I haven't read, so...
Talk to me about, we knew Matt Reeves was the man, he was brilliant, he loved Batman, he was going to go deep. But talk to me about some of the stuff, big picture or small, that you were even more impressed about with his performance.
He was saying, like, there's going to be a little bit of the Batman... Well, he was talking about, like, Batman ego might be in here a little bit. And I'm like... Because that's a deep cut, because I haven't even heard of that book. So it's... I mean, his knowledge is past mine with Batman.
What in particular? So, what was one small thing and one big thing about his appearance and his presentation that really impressed you? Would you say?
Just the way they didn't have to really lead him into talking it too much. He just went off. He knew his stuff, which was a good thing. You know, you didn't have to lead him so they would know what they had to say. he knew what he needed to say.
And guys, we're going to talk about the video games in a second. I'm just going to run clips of the trailer and the video games on loop here, just to have something to look at.
The big thing I was surprised about was one of his big inspirations of movies for this was Chinatown. What do you think about that one there, Chinatown?
I mean, he mentioned Chinatown, he mentioned Taxi Driver. On the one hand, coming from a film snob kind of school, that stuff you hear a lot, you know what I mean? But he's so authentic, you know what I mean? And he's so clearly a smart guy. And I'm not one who studies movies really before the 70s or 80s, and so I'm not going to pretend. If you have any insight on that, go for it.
No, I just think that's pretty neat that, he's pulling some of the old like film noir, like detective films to try to craft his own noir detective film.
Yeah, I think the important thing is he is treating Gotham as a city that happens to have a Batman, that happens to have some weird villains, as opposed to a comic book story and trying to shove that into something more realistic, right? This is the whole genre thing, right? Like, this was the big thing with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It was like, wow, we can do a spy thriller that happens to have Captain America and, Nick Fury with a machine gun on his car. But it was like a genre film first almost and a superhero film second. Obviously, the big team-up ones, so Avengers are going to be, or Justice League are going to be, comic book movies. Or you have the Deadpools and Shazams, which are specifically wink, wink, nod, nod, right, towards that sort of thing. This is the way to do it for Batman, dude. You know what I mean? And, like, having everything, we said it even beforehand with the pictures, everything being sort of handmade, you know what I mean? Sort of half built, or, like, he had just strung that light fixture up, and the car looks like it still needs a few parts, you know what I mean? Like, that's definitely the way to go. Obviously, we're going to get the full uniforms and everything eventually, but for the first one, when you're doing what, he said this isn't an origin story. This is what I call a secondary origin story. I love secondary origin stories. For a secondary origin story, this is the way to do it. Now, Batman Begins did a good...
he's already...
I was going to
he's
say...
He's already, in the suit and, like, out in the world.
Right, and so, even though Batman Begins was predictable because we know the story, they did a good job of not over-explaining. My biggest criticism of the Han Solo movie was, like, here's how Solo got the name Solo, here's how Chewie got the name Chewie, here's how this... Like, if you're going to do prequels, you have to tell us new things about the characters we like, not explain things we already know, right? That was the big flaw of the Star Wars prequels, was not just that it was bad in various ways, but he explained a whole bunch of things that we didn't need to know about, you know what I mean? Rather than telling us new stuff. And this is certainly not doing that. So my question to you is, we know the Detective Comics thing, we know this is secondary origin story. Do you think, outside of what we know are the direct influences here, plus just the Matt Reeves vision, do you feel like he's just going to pick and choose from other great Batman things that fit this vision? Does that make sense?
Yeah, he can. Well, I mean.
And did you see any in that trailer? I mean, like, was there some stuff in that trailer that reminded you of, you know what I mean?
Halloween?
Of other of Long Halloween, but also of anything else the Batman-y that you like that maybe you weren't expecting to get.
I'll have to rewatch it a little bit more times to talk about that because it's still very fresh in my mind yet.
Mm-hmm.
But as of now, the Long Halloween thing I could see was where you see him and it was Catwoman on the other side. Kind of reminded me of that one panel we have there from the Long Halloween.
By the way, I love how the beginning of the trailer, it scratches and it looks really ghetto, and you think there's something wrong with the trailer. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let me do that. Let me do that for the people. So guys, listen closely at the very beginning here. Wait, hold on. Right there. But it's tape. It's tape. But you think it's scratching and everything's moving weirdly.
Yeah.
All right, walk us through it. Walk us through the trailer one time here.
All right.
Because the sound will come up on the podcast.
All right. Well, let me get my earbuds in so we can.
All right, I'll start this over again.
From your secret friend.
So guys, this is a acoustic version of Nirvana's "Something in the Way," which is a really haunting song. Let me know when you're ready, pal.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Your scratching sound.
Here we go.
Scratching sound. And again, how good does Jim Gordon look in this film? I mean,
duct tape. You can do an entire scene where you are getting uncomfortable by the sound of duct tape. That's brilliant filmmaking.
From your secret friend. Who?
Again, there's a boy, Jeffrey Wright. He looks amazing as Jim Gordon.
I think Jeffrey Wright's an under actor, but that's perfect for Gordon.
Having a clue.
Yeah. I keep wondering if he's going to be in that Gotham TV show they were talking about.
Cast Naomi Scott as Batgirl.
Any of this mean anything to you?
Oh!
The bat suit. I'm like, I think you all heard me on the podcast when I screamed the bat suit.
You're becoming
like,
quite
that suit is incredible.
Here's the thing. This is all so serious and dire as the first one should be.
Why is he writing to you?
But it's the perfect setup for Catwoman, but it's also the perfect setup for Nightwing and or Robin and or Batgirl in movie 2 to lighten it up.
Justice.
Yeah.
Please do not lie.
Because Batman's losing his soul already, it seems like.
Yeah, he's losing it with it. I mean, it looks like the police force is turning against him in that one clip there. And we got...
Oh, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he really beat the shit out of that guy. He's still beating the shit out of that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's being... Yeah,
you have to admit, the I'm Vengeance and the brutality of that fight is very Daredevil-esque, which is cool.
I was listening to it.
And look, the red, I mean, this reminds me of Daredevil, which I love, so I'm cool with that.
In that one clip, his Batman voice sounds better than Ben Affleck's.
It sounds closer to Matt Murdock's Daredevil voice, which is great, and let's be honest, that's the most brutal fighting. It's better than any, like, look, dude, I know we love Christopher Nolan. Well, hold on, what's
yeah,
that?
he can't.
We love Christopher Nolan and everything, but not great with the fight scenes. The Daredevil
we know
better.
he can't do action.
But the I am vengeance and then beating someone even more senseless than they need to is a very Matt Murdock move. And let's be honest, Matt Reeves is clearly a Batman scholar, but he's also a comic scholar. And guess who wrote for both Batman famously and Daredevil? Frank Miller, who he mentioned. Yeah. And so, The Man Without Fear and the Frank Miller run on The Dark Knight, wasn't that far apart. So this is, what I call dialoguing between comics. There's no stealing going on, but Daredevil was clearly the response to Batman by Marvel. Like, there's no two ways about it. We know Daredevil was like, the Marvel Batman in a lot of ways, right? And so for it to come back this way a little bit, with a little bit of the aesthetics and the I Am Vengeance thing, I'm all for, because the fighting in the Chris Nolan movies, clearly the weakest thing, and we've already seen a fight scene better than really any particular fight that we saw in Nolan. And I know that's what it's not all about, but especially when you're doing Detective Batman, you must agree, when we do get fights, they have to be badass.
Yeah, they do. And yeah, in that fight with the Joker thug looked brutal.
What do you think is going to be the personal trigger here? Like, if in all the, traditional tellings, it's about parents or memories of the parents or legacies of the parents or revenge of the parents. Like, what's going to set him off here from a personal standpoint, do you think?
I really don't know.
I mean, in The Long Halloween, does it get personal in that sort of way?
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a close friend of his gets killed or something.
Mm-hmm. So this was amazing. I feel somewhat like the beginning and the end of the day were similar in that I expected the directors, Patty Jenkins with Wonder Woman, and the lead actor, Gal Gadot, and on the other hand, Pattinson, lead actor, director Matt Reeves. In both cases, I expected the lead actors and the directors to be amazing and the trailers to be amazing. In both cases, they lived up to amazingness, but again, when you see it viscerally, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say in either case that it blew me away beyond what I thought, because I had really high expectations, and I know both of those directors are great, but then you see it, and you know what I mean? And it puts emotions and images in your head. Does that make sense? Like
yeah.
No matter how high your expectations, until you see it, and that they're going to pull it off. Like, we already know that about Patty, right? Because we have a Wonder Woman movie, and we had a first Wonder Woman trailer. So in some ways, that was less surprising. This was, let's be honest, I want to hear, you must have been a little nervous before this trailer. The tiny chance that Matt Reeves either maybe overthought it, right? That would be the one thing that maybe would have happened, was that he overthought it and tried to be a little too artsy and cutesy, as I was talking about, a little too cute. Like Rian Johnson, in some of his movies, like everything has to be perfect and then ends up being kind of stilted. This was not that. This was just brutal, emotional, punch to the stomach. And again, I can't necessarily describe why this version of darkness with Matt Reeves, like with Planet of the Apes, is so much more appealing than the Snyder one. It's just that his people seem truly human and relatable, even right, whereas Snyder's people never seem human and relatable.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
And whatever the Snyder people want to say, the vast majority of people who watch throughout the day watch the Snyder cut and it's like, okay, this is interesting. By the time they got to this, I have to think they've thought, unless they're like hardcore Snyder fans, probably forgot about that pretty quickly once they saw the actual future vision of Batman.
We got a Snyder Cut trailer?
Sorry, Ben Affleck. Sorry, even Christian Bale and Michael Keaton a little bit. This guy is going to be the best because he's got the best director, and they can learn from all the past mistakes. By the way, Zoe looked angry, but also scared, man, as Catwoman. She looked like a cat. She looked like a scared cat. Like not fully confident and bitchy and sassy like Anne Hathaway or Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't know if you saw that, but to me, she looked extremely scared. Not that she was going to get her ass kicked, but like she was running from something. I don't know. That was the impression I got.
That's what I got from it too.
Smart to hide the main villains, especially Dano, but in general, hiding the main villains. No Farrell. I didn't see Totoro. Maybe he was in there. And Farrell and Dano.
I don't think he was in there.
You don't need it. And this is what's great about Batman, is you can do an entire Batman trailer with a little Catwoman and some mobsters and some people dressed as the Joker, and you don't need to show anything else. And so when people see the movie, the full trailer and then the movie, they'll get the full Totoro, Farrell, Dano experience. Because let's be honest, dude, those three actors, while they're great, are all a little broad. And so it will be interesting to see how Reeves sort of bottles up the broadness of, Colin Farrell, who can kind of overact at times, although I really like Farrell when he gets good roles. Totoro, tends to be a little bit of a caricature which works for Falcone. And obviously Dano is a total psychopath, and I love him as a psychopath. So
there's also one other character they hid in the trailer too.
I'm blanking. There's so many good ones.
They hid Annie Serkis's Alfred.
Oh no, Alfred, right? Yep.
But you hear him.
Absolutely. So we're gonna do a follow-up podcast about this when we get to watch the trailer a bunch more. We'll check out screenshots. I'm sure you'll do research. We'll follow up with this next week. Guys, I would recommend going to the Twitch page. I'm going to take down the videos that didn't last long or didn't have stuff. It's really essentially only 2 videos in the end. There was there was a short video in the beginning with the Wonder Woman stuff. Oh no, but we weren't recording then, were we? So there was an hour and a half where we watched Wonder Woman and talked about it, and then we watched the video game, which is where I went totally crazy. You can see the highlight of me going crazy over Batgirl. We saw Suicide Squad and Flash and had mixed feelings about all that. So we got a lot in that 90 minutes, and then there's this one as well. You might be listening to this in audio, but you definitely go back and check out that other video, or sort of the part that came before we watched this trailer, and we were just marveling at Matt Reeves and everything going on, and check that out in terms of our thoughts throughout the day. But again, just to restate, man, and I'll throw it to you, Suicide Squad, both game and movie, I just could care less about, even if they're good. I'm sorry, I just don't care. The Bat Squad game looks spectacular. I can't wait to play it, hopefully with you or anytime with anyone. Co-op, my favorite characters in the Batverse. It just looks amazing as a game, as well as the characters that I love. I think Ezra Miller can carry any movie, but they've been stringing everyone along on this, and I still don't have full faith in Christina Hodson. That's another thing me and Alistair do agree on, is we're not crazy about her writing, but maybe her sense of weird and Ezra's sense of weird will work together, and Ezra can certainly carry a movie through performance. Wonder Woman's going to be spectacular. Suicide Squad I could care less about. I didn't see Aquaman, didn't really pay attention to Shazam. I like The Rock. Everybody likes The Rock. We'll see how that goes. But my takeaway is Wonder Woman and Batman are guaranteed to be good. Flash should be good unless they screw things up. And what have we been talking about? The 3 properties they need to focus on are Wonder Woman, Flash, and Batman. And for 2 3/4 of those 3, because I'm not 100% certain about the Flash, I feel good. And you add the video game, and I feel good in that category too. So I'm feeling good all around. But part of it's because the other properties I don't care about, I had no expectations. So like Suicide Squad not attracting me, as you know, makes no difference to me. This wasn't why I watched it today. So I'll throw it to you for what really pumped you up, and then we'll follow this up with a longer, more thought out podcast next week, hopefully.
Okay. I'm excited for Batman and all the others coming up. Can't wait, and I can't wait to see what happens. Can't wait to see what else happens in the next weeks or so, if anything else comes out.
What do you think No More Lies is referring to?
I don't know. But I think we're good for now. And I hope everyone had fun with us.
Really quick question. Do you think Colin Farrell is just being set up for further movies? Because they got a lot of bad guys going on. Yeah, I think so. I think Jeffrey Wright's going to do a great job. But he's not a guy who carries the movie. But Gordon's not a character who carries the movie. Who was that?
Yeah.
Wait, who was that guy?
What guy?
Who's this?
I guess the mayor.
Is that the mayor?
Oh, that's. I think that's supposed to be Pattinson.
The fat guy?
No. I think the fat guy's the mayor.
Oh. Who did you think was Pattinson?
The guy who was you see like only his eyes.
See only his eyes.
Yeah. If you press after you press it after the mayor, and you see a guy where you just see his eyes, and I thought that was Pattinson.
Oh yeah, right here. Yep, that's definitely him. I mean, they're definitely playing up the Pattinson goth thing, which they totally should, because it's Gotham City. It's a gothic property. It's not just noir. It's gothic noir. So he's really the perfect guy. And, you know, this looks like a scary Gotham. You know, a lot of times Gotham is supposed to look scary, and it just ends up looking like it's supposed to look scary. Does that make sense? Like, this actually looks scary. Like, this looks scary even for Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is a scary fucking city.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're good.
Thank you so much, man. That was awesome. We're continuing the video experiment. We're definitely getting better at it. I wish Zoom and Skype weren't such pieces of shit, but mostly it worked once I realized that was a still image of you looking down and not just you bending over for like a half hour. I was like, what are you doing? I thought maybe you were eating off camera or something like that. So we'll link to the 2 or 3 videos, guys. And
want me to have the last word?
You have the last word. I just realized we didn't really do a ton of posts, so I'm just gonna have this video be the 3rd and final video, and people can watch it, because we're going to talk about this stuff in greater length in audio form next week. So consider this a tease, and you have last word.
My last word is, I am vengeance.
It's the Tom the Bizzle. Barbara Gordon! But not on Titans. God damn it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. There's a lot of exciting stuff. In the meantime, watch Harley and Doom Patrol. There's some good stuff on TV. Am I missing anything?
No.
No. And join us soon for some more Biz Ritter. Thank you, Mr. Ritter. I am the Biz. May the Force be with you. But for now, the Bizzlecast is out.